everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video, we're going to do something fun. I'm gonna make sure to link JESS down below because I saw her do this on her channel, which prompted me to get the black watercolor paper and some is it gouache paint. I got the white from Winsor. So the new to me product is still kind of the black watercolor paper, the gouache paint, and I'm going to be using a silver brush, which I've never used before. So I'm really excited to play with the products today. So I've pre-treated the black watercolor paper, and I've stamped this particular stamp from Simon Says Stamp twice in Versamark ink because I'm going to heat emboss it in white. And the white that I'm going to use is from Brutus Monroe, and it's the Alabaster white. So we're just going to pour it over everything, making sure to tap it off. And then I'm just double checking, making sure that all the areas were covered. Now, I do find with this particular watercolor, whenever I heat emboss on it, it almost takes some of the shine away when you're heating it up. So I heat it up a little bit longer than you maybe should, only because it's hard to see sometimes as it's melting. So I do want to just give you heads up on that. So I had to grab my heat tool. I'm letting it warm up. I'm kind of moving it along my hand so I can feel as it like kind of heats up. I'm not leaving it in one spot. I'm gently moving it around. And then I heat a little bit from behind, and then I start heating the front of the project. Now I will say one of the things that I'm liking about this watercolor paper is that it doesn't have a whole lot of warping, and that's because even though it's a heavier watercolor paper, it actually is soft, and it's hard to explain. But if you've ever dealt with watercolor paper, you know, like a lot of times they feel super stiff, and then like when you tear it, that's when you see like the soft fibers on the inside. But this one feels soft, I mean, without tearing it or anything. It just, I don't know, it's a different feel. So once it was heat embossed, I just wiped it with my cloth to get all the extra powder off. And I'm just showing you here the Winsor, the gouache, and the white. And I'm using a laminated piece of paper off to the side to kind of put down just a little bit of the wash, because I'm not going to need a whole lot because there's not a whole lot of open space on the project. And then these are the silver brushes that I got. I think by getting these two sets, I only have a duplicate on one size, and that's a size 8. So I got a 1, a 4, 2 8s. This one is a 12. And then the fun shaped one, which you can hear me looking through them right now trying to find it, is a 3/4 of an inch oval, which I've never used an oval brush before, but it feels weird. It's really like stiff. But I will say for this project I used the number 4 because it was a lot of smaller areas, and I didn't want to go too crazy with my controllability. Like I said, I'm not an artist in any way in that sense of like I'm used to using paintbrushes and doing my own art thing. If you like that, I suggest you watch Sandy Alna because I think she is amazing with her painting. Just definitely go check her out if that's what you like to watch, because she's, yeah, another level. But if you're just, you know, a card maker and you're wanting to paint a little bit on your cards, do some fun watercoloring techniques, You probably don't need to purchase the silver brushes. I just keep seeing them everywhere, so I wanted to try it. And if you're like me and you're always curious, when they first came out or people were really talking about it, I kind of let it fly by, and then I was finally able to purchase some myself, and they're still exciting to use. You know what I mean? It doesn't make it any less than because I waited a little bit to get it. You know what I mean? So on the white cardstock, I put a little bit of water, and on the actual tube of paint, it says that it is a permanent white. So you definitely want to make sure you clean your brushes and you clean your work surface. When it was on my mat, my glass mat, I did use some alcohol swabs to clean it up off of the glass, and it came right off. So what I'm going to do, because I don't think it takes a long time, but it's just, you know, for the most part, me coloring in. I do take some of the bright white and I put it in certain areas, and then I try and take a little bit of water and pull the color out towards the edge. And my tip would be definitely to play with it, because like I said, this is a new brush to me, so how much water it holds and stuff like that, I actually forgot that I was going to use these brushes, and that's why I didn't have an actual container for water. Normally I would, but that's why I had to spray the water onto the side where the ink or the paint was, so I would have something to grab, because I'm so used to using the brushes that have the water in the tube itself. But I did like changing it up and trying these new brushes. So I'm going to let the music play while we do a little bit of simple coloring, and then we'll be back when it's completely done. Alright, so now that it's all colored in, I knew I wanted to figure out what sentiment I wanted to use because I wanted to make it a card all while we're on the video, because it was such a simple card. There's no point in waiting until another video to turn it into a card. I only did the one, so I'm thinking in my mind right here, like, okay, let's finish this out. So I find the sentiment, let the celebration begin. I thought that was really simple, and it was pretty, and it could be a celebration for anything. It could be anniversary, birthday, wedding, it could be anything. So I put a little bit of water and the gouache on my clear block, and I decided to do some splatter to just finish it off. And then I'm going to clean, like I said, I'm going to clean this all off. And then when we come back, we're going to go ahead and get this put together. So I'm using my ATG tape and some art glitter glue to give me some time to line it up, because I kept my paper size to the actual size of the front of the card. I don't normally do it that way. So I wanted to show you guys that, you can make these really pretty cards with these large images and just have it fit the actual card front size. So it's 5.5 by 4.25. And so that covers the entire front. And then I'm going to put some foam on the back of the sentiment strip. I'm using these smaller foam squares. And I'm just going to start lining them up along the sentiment strip. We're just going to place those down real quick, and it never fails. There's always got to be one that's a little crooked, and when you go to put it down, you flip it over and you can see the foam sticking out. It drives me nuts. So once I fix it and get it where I want it, I am going to bring out my white Nouveau drops. I need to remember to keep the black, the white, and probably, I'm not even going to say the gold and silver. Really, I love using the Nouveau drops. I like using sequins. A lot of times I use just the clear ones because they go with everything, and I leave them on my desk. But I like the white, the black, the gold and silver, because more often than not, you can use those with a lot of different cards that you're using. So you'll grab for those more often. The other colors, you're not going to use a blue all the time or a red necessarily. It just depends, But after I put down, I think I put down 3 of the Nouveau drops, I realized I really wanted to put more, only because it almost looks like the Nouveau drops are part of the splatter. It's really cool. I like how it turned out. So once again, I'm going to have JESS link down below. I'm showing you here the paper, the Stonehenge watercolor pad. I'll have links. I'm going to try and get those links again and make sure they're down below for you guys. So thank you so much for joining me today. Definitely take a look at that black watercolor paper, you guys. You will not be disappointed. There's so much we can do with it. The silver brushes, I'll try and find the link that I had for those too. I want to say I got those on Amazon, so check that out. And then as far as the Simon Says stamp, I will try and see if it's still available, which I think it is. I'll make sure there's a link for that as well below. Thank you guys again, and I hope you guys have a great Sunday.